Have you ever looked at your empty phone and felt a surge of power instead of panic? Do you find your greatest breakthroughs happen in the deafening silence others call loneliness? This world mistakes your deliberate solitude for a cry for help, a sign of failure. They see an empty room and call it desolation. You see a war room and call it an advantage. Welcome to the Sigma male community, the one place that doesn't just understand your path but validates the brutal, beautiful necessity of walking it alone. Here we don't just talk about strength, we dissect its architecture, revealing that the men who move the world are often the ones who stand apart from it, not because they are unwanted, but because they have cultivated an inner world so vast and compelling that the outside noise becomes irrelevant. This isn't about being antisocial, it's about being strategically sovereign, and today we decode the operating system of the man who has nobody because he has something infinitely more valuable: himself. 1. The Privacy Fortress Imperative. The Sigma male understands a fundamental truth that the rest of the world has forgotten. Information is power, and personal information is the most potent weapon of all. He treats the details of his life not with the carelessness of a social media post, but with the precision of a military strategist guarding classified intelligence. You will hear him engage in surface-level discussions, a smokescreen of trivialities about the weather or the outcome of a game, because these are low-cost, zero-risk interactions. But dare to probe deeper, to ask about his financial architecture, his deepest vulnerabilities, or the grand, audacious vision he is quietly building, and you will encounter a wall of reinforced steel. This isn't born from fear or a lack of trust. It is a calculated act of strategic operational security. He has observed how the world weaponizes vulnerability, turning shared secrets into gossip, leverage for manipulation, or the very fuel for sabotage by those who resent ambition. By encrypting his inner world, the Sigma forces all relationships to exist purely in the present moment, evaluated on their current merit, not on the ghosts of past confessions or the potential leverage of future plans. This deliberate control over his own narrative acts as a powerful filter. It repels those who seek the quick, shallow intimacy of oversharing, those who collect personal stories like trophies to feel closer to power. The inevitable consequence is an aura of profound inaccessibility, a fortress that most find impenetrable. It's a trade-off he willingly makes, understanding that the few who are patient enough to earn access are the only ones worthy of seeing what lies within the vault. The rest are left outside, wondering which is exactly where they belong. 2. The Anti-Drama Exit Strategy. In a world addicted to the adrenaline of conflict, the Sigma male is a conscientious objector. He watches as others feast on emotional turmoil, the thinly veiled insults, the manufactured crises designed to test loyalty, the tribalistic us versus them theatrics, and recognizes it for what it is, a form of psychological radiation. While the herd mistakes this chaos for passion or engagement, the Sigma measures every interaction by its cognitive and energetic cost. When the Geiger counter of his perception clicks into the red zone of toxicity, he deploys his silent extraction protocol. There are no dramatic farewell speeches, no scorched earth parting shots, no grand pronouncements of his departure. He simply vanishes from the frequency, ghosting the source of the static without apology or explanation. This isn't an act of avoidance but of battlefield triage. He understands that engaging with drama, even to defend himself, is to inhale the poison. It depletes the very energy he needs to build his empire, to hone his skills, to conquer his own mind. His time and mental bandwidth are sacred resources, reserved for creation and self-mastery, not for refereeing petty squabbles or placating emotional vampires. The collateral damage of this strategy is often being mislabeled as cold, unreliable, or hard to reach by those who thrive on the very chaos he abhors. They interpret his peacekeeping as disinterest, his self-preservation as aloofness. But the Sigma knows that true peace is not the absence of conflict in his environment, but the unwavering refusal to let that conflict colonize his mind. 3. The Trust Filtration System. To the Sigma male, a bond formed in an instant is a bond destined to fail. He views the modern obsession with immediate intimacy and rapid-fire friendship as a sign of profound naivety, a fraudulent transaction that bypasses the most crucial element: verification. His architecture for trust is not built on shared laughter or common interests alone. It is a sophisticated behavioral algorithm that runs constantly in the background, a series of subtle, often imperceptible, stress tests. He might share a minor, contrarian opinion simply to observe if it's later twisted or used against him. He watches silently from a distance as you face a setback, not to judge but to discern the core of your character. Do you display integrity in failure, or do you resort to blame and opportunism? This meticulous and glacial process of vetting is designed to weed out the 90% of fair-weather allies and opportunistic connections before any real vulnerability is ever put on the table. Most people fail these silent trials without even knowing they were being tested. They grow impatient with his reserved nature, misinterpreting his observation as disinterest, and drift away. The Sigma does not mourn these losses. He sees them as the successful function of his filtration system. The rare few who remain, who demonstrate consistency, integrity, and respect for his boundaries without needing reminders, are the ones who gain entry. What he builds with them is not a sprawling social circle but a hand-picked coalition, a small, impenetrable unit forged in the fires of proven resilience and mutual respect. 4. The Happiness Self-Sufficiency Protocol. Modern society has conditioned people to function like appliances, perpetually seeking an external socket for their validation and happiness. Their sense of self-worth is charged by the fluctuating currents of likes on social media, the approval of a group, and the constant reassurance of companionship. The Sigma male, in stark contrast, operates on an internal nuclear reactor. He has engineered his life to be a closed system of contentment, generating his own serotonin through pursuits that require no audience. The profound joy he experiences during a marathon session of deep work, the quiet satisfaction of mastering a complex skill, the exhilarating expansion of his mind during a philosophical deep dive, these are his power sources. This self-sufficiency is not a rejection of other people, it's a fundamental principle of energy economics. When your happiness is not dependent on external variables, social interactions are transformed from desperate needs into elective upgrades. He engages with others not to fill a void but to share a surplus, to exchange value, or to enjoy a genuine connection. This radical independence is often misinterpreted by outsiders. They see his contentment with solitude and perceive it as disinterest or even arrogance. They cannot comprehend a man who doesn't need their validation to feel whole, and so they project their own insecurities onto him. But the Sigma is not lonely. He is free, powered by a wellspring of internal fulfillment that makes him the master of his own emotional state. 5. The Evolution Velocity Gap. The average person's identity is a fixed photograph, a static persona they present to the world with minor updates over time. The gym buddy, the work confidant, the funny one in the group, these are predictable archetypes that provide comfort and stability to their social circles. The Sigma male's identity, however, is not a photograph. It's a live stream. It is firmware in a perpetual state of beta testing, constantly being rewritten, upgraded, and optimized. This month he might be obsessively mastering the principles of quantum physics. The next he could be deconstructing and rebuilding a motorcycle engine in a remote workshop in Patagonia. He is a creature of relentless momentum, driven by an insatiable curiosity and a commitment to perpetual growth. This high velocity of personal evolution creates an unavoidable gap between him and those around him. Friendships, particularly those built on a shared but temporary interest or a specific version of his past self, often fracture under the strain of his forward momentum. The connection doesn't break from malice or conflict but from the simple, brutal reality that he has outgrown the container. He sheds old identities like a snake sheds its skin, not because he disdains his past but because it no longer fits the man he is becoming. The resulting solitude is not a sign of abandonment but the natural byproduct of his journey. It is the exhaust fume of a life lived at maximum velocity, a testament to his relentless, unapologetic reinvention. To the Sigma male community viewer pausing here, recognize this crossroads. You didn't click this video by accident. That gravitational pull toward emptiness? It's not loneliness, it's your psyche's firewall alert. While others are busy collecting followers like trading cards, desperately seeking validation from the crowd, you are methodically engineering a zero-distraction zone, a sanctuary for deep work and profound thought. You feel the pull of solitude because you intuitively understand that the signal you are trying to tune into cannot be heard above the noise of the herd. What comes next is the justification for your choices, the validation for your path. It is the reason you will never have to apologize for the silence you cultivate or the people you leave behind. This is not about having nobody, It's about making room for everything that truly matters. 6. The Goal Execution War Room. To the Sigma, time is not a currency to be spent, it is unrecoverable ammunition to be deployed with lethal precision. Every social invitation, every request for his attention, undergoes a ruthless audit against a single critical question. Will this advance my mission or will it create drag? He views his life not as a series of random events but as a campaign, and every decision is a strategic move on the battlefield of his ambition. This is why you will find him dissecting Stoic philosophy on a podcast instead of engaging in meaningless bar crawls, or enrolling in a coding boot camp instead of attending a distant relative's birthday party. He doesn't merely decline gatherings, he strategically assassinates distractions that threaten his trajectory. This unwavering focus renders the conventional wisdom of networking obsolete. While others are collecting business cards and engaging in performative socializing, the Sigma is in his war room shipping projects, carving his physique out of disciplined effort, and mastering skills that produce tangible, undeniable results. His success becomes his network. His competence becomes his calling card. Outsiders, observing his frequent absence from social scenes, see a man who is isolated and missing out. But those with the eyes to see recognize the laser-like focus of a sniper in his nest, patiently waiting to take the perfect shot. His solitude is not emptiness, it is the focused silence of a grand strategy in execution. 7. The Energy Sovereignty Doctrine. The common metaphor of a social battery that gets drained and recharged is too simplistic for the Sigma male. He doesn't just have a battery, he commands an entire power grid and he is the sole, sovereign operator of that grid. Every potential interaction is subjected to a brutal, unsentimental return on investment analysis. He weighs the cost, the expenditure of time, the mental drain of navigating social dynamics, the cognitive load of small talk, against the potential reward, which must be substantial, such as the acquisition of valuable knowledge or a genuine high-bandwidth connection with a kindred spirit. The vast majority of social events, from status signaling performances to endless marathons of trivial chatter, are flagged by his internal system as acts of energy theft. When he declines an invitation, it is not an act of rudeness or social anxiety, it is a calculated act of asset protection. He is guarding his most precious resource, his focused creative energy, from being squandered on low-value exchanges. This rigorous gatekeeping creates a powerful, automatic filtration effect. Those who seek only to drain his energy, the emotional vampires and the validation seekers, find his fortress impenetrable and quickly self-deport. The space that remains in his life is not empty, it is a cleared, consecrated ground reserved only for what he deems uranium grade. Minds that challenge him, souls that resonate with him, and endeavors that build him. 8. The Friendship Vetting Laboratory. Where most people accept good enough friendships out of a fear of being alone, the Sigma male places potential connections under a microscope in his personal laboratory. The initial criteria go far beyond shallow commonalities like shared hobbies or taste in music. He is testing for deeper, more resilient qualities, the bedrock characteristics of a truly valuable alliance. He observes how a person responds in a crisis, not when things are easy. He assesses their capacity for respecting his boundaries without constant, draining reminders. Most importantly, he tests for their resistance to zero-sum thinking, watching to see if they can celebrate his victories without feeling diminished themselves. Most potential friendships crumble under this intense scrutiny. A friend who reveals a penchant for gossip is immediately flagged as a source of contaminated data, a security risk to his private world. An individual who consistently flakes when it's inconvenient is identified as a system error, a drain on his resources. This process is slow, methodical, and yields few results, but that is the point. He is not building a social club. He is assembling a special operations unit. The 2 or 3 individuals who pass this rigorous vetting form his inner sanctum. They are not his buddies, they are a coalition of the reliable, a testament to the fact that for a Sigma, the quality of his connections will always and forever incinerate the quantity. 9. The static-to-signal conversion. In an age of information overload, where the air is thick with digital chatter, unsolicited opinions, and the relentless noise of the crowd, the Sigma male understands that silence is not a void but a prerequisite for clarity. His solitude is not emptiness. It is a deliberate act of bandwidth preservation. He actively cultivates silence as a form of electromagnetic shielding, protecting his mind from the mental pollution that cripples the average person's ability to think deeply and originally. While others are drowning in the static of social media feeds and endless news cycles, he is creating a vacuum, a clean room for the mind where faint-frequency truths can finally be detected. It is from within this carefully protected silence that his greatest breakthroughs emerge. His most innovative strategies, his most profound philosophical insights, and his most creative works are born not from collaboration or brainstorming in a group, but from the focused power of a singular, undistracted mind. What the world, with its frantic need for constant stimulation, perceives as isolation is, in fact, the optimal environment for genius to flourish. The nobody they see around him is the very condition that allows him to hear the signal through the noise, to connect with his own intuition, and to produce work that is truly his own. 10. The expectation incineration policy. Society operates on a web of unspoken social contracts, a series of shoulds and supposed designed to enforce conformity and predictability. The obligation to attend the wedding of someone you barely know. The guilt-tripped family reunion you're expected to endure. The unspoken rule that you must celebrate holidays in a prescribed manner. The Sigma male takes this entire web of unwritten rules and systematically incinerates it. He replaces the tyranny of should with the unwavering principle of non-negotiable autonomy. His decisions are governed by his own values and priorities, not by external expectations or the threat of social disapproval. This radical commitment to personal sovereignty is terrifying to those who operate on a transactional basis. They look for hooks to sink in, for emotional debts to create and later call in, but with the Sigma they find no purchase. He cannot be guilt-tripped, shamed, or obligated into compliance. The freedom this creates is volcanic in its power. It reshapes his social landscape, causing weak foundations built on obligation to crumble into dust. What remains are the rare and powerful bonds that are forged in the fire of mutual sovereignty, connections chosen freely and consciously by two independent individuals, rather than those imposed by tradition or expectation. 11. The unapologetic exit architecture. For the Sigma male, relationships like any other system in his life have a life cycle. When a connection expires, whether through a slow, natural drift, a sudden act of betrayal, or a fundamental misalignment of values and trajectory, he does not cling to the wreckage out of sentimentality. Instead, he executes a protocol of graceful obsolescence. There is no room for bitter drama, no need for lengthy postmortems or the assignment of blame. His loyalty is a powerful force, but it lives exclusively in the present tense. He honors the value the relationship provided in its time, extracts the lesson it taught, and moves on without apology. To the outside world, this can look like extreme coldness or a callous lack of feeling. People who collect past relationships like human souvenirs, who see every connection as a permanent fixture, cannot comprehend this ability to detach and evolve. They mistake his forward momentum for a lack of heart. But for the Sigma, this unapologetic exit architecture is the only way to stay airborne. Clinging to expired bonds is like trying to fly while dragging anchors. By gracefully letting go of what is no longer meant for him, he keeps his energy clean, his path clear, and his spirit light, forever prepared for the next stage of his evolution. So you see, the emptiness in a Sigma male's life is a carefully engineered space. It's not a void of loneliness, but a vacuum of creation. It's the silence required to hear one's own thoughts, the fortress needed to protect one's mission, the sovereignty demanded to live a life of purpose. You are not broken because you have nobody, you are focused because you have chosen to eliminate the distractions that keep others chained to mediocrity. You walk this path because you know that the greatest empires are built in solitude, and the strongest wills are forged in the quiet fires of self-reliance. This is your strength, your power, your undeniable advantage. If this resonated with you, if you felt a sense of validation in these words, then you have found your tribe here at the Sigma Male community. Don't just watch and leave. Take action. Solidify your commitment to this path by hitting that like button to signal your understanding. Share this video with a man you know who walks a similar path and needs this validation. Most importantly, subscribe and ring that notification bell. Why? Because we are not just a channel. We are an arsenal, providing you with the intellectual and philosophical tools needed to master your life. In the comments below, share one way you actively protect your solitude. Let's learn from the collective wisdom of this community. Stay sovereign, stay focused, and never apologize for the path you walk. Share this video with friends.